There he is.
My name is Peter Molyneux, and I love this industry. I love being a game designer, and I can hardly wait to show you what we've been working on. This talk is going to be an unashamed show and tell of a game that we've been working on for the last almost a year now called Dollars, and I have a few like it. So, I'm going to start off, quite slowly, and I'm going to start off explaining as a designer how an idea comes to be. It comes from partly from frustration, partly from greed, the greed of wanting to play a game, partly from envy, the envy of other people's games. So let's start off by going through some of the games that I've made, and I'll just talk a little bit about those games because they give context to what I'm going to demo and show. So, it all started back in 1989 when I stumbled on a game with someone called Glenn. Has anyone played Molyneux?
Table, black and white.
Now,
go for
yeah. Not because of me being a good designer, but being rubbish coder. Because I couldn't really work out how to get the little people in populace to navigate. It's the most basic thing. Any coder knows how to do root finding and stuff like that. Back in the days,
I'm sorry. It doesn't matter, dude. I'm trying to listen.
I'll just get the user to solve that problem for me, and that's what this was created. That led us on to a game called Power, which was probably my the low point of my design career. Why? Well, I'll tell you why. Because in Power, unbelievably, you had these little armies and you could direct the armies with a mouse. But because of one drunken night down the pub, I had this really rubbish idea. And my rubbish idea was this: rather than control an army with the mouse clicks, why not send out a carrier pigeon to carry the orders to the army? That was the most rubbish idea. The whole game, the game became absolutely crap because of that. I then moved on to Populous 2, and that was a rushed sequel if there was one. Syndicate, it was the first game.
The Populous one.
I don't think we get away with Syndicate in today's world because you can minigun babies. Quite clearly, that's slightly politically unacceptable these days. From Syndicate, we went to Magic Carpet, another example of just how bad an idea. Why did I have the idea of setting it on some magic carpet? Why not set it in a dungeon with monsters or a corridor, and it could be a first-person shooter, but no, magic carpet, and we used to stand in the office and say, well, we should animate the person on the carpet like this. It was rubbish. Theme Park, unbelievably, Theme Park was incredibly successful. Mainly because I think it was because you could build incredibly high roller coasters and then make people sick. So the one feature that most people know from Theme Park was the pools of vomit that covered the entirety of people's things. Octane, I won't talk too much about that one. And then Dungeon Keeper. Gosh, I loved doing Dungeon Keeper. It was so packed full of features, but there was something lovely about multiplayer. And we're going to talk a little bit more about that in a minute. Then I left Bullfrog. I started Lionhead. The first title was Black and White. mixture of a big world and a huge creature that you could slap and stroke. And the thing that made that famous, to be honest with you, was when you could move your hand into the creature's groin. That seems to be what they're wanting to do. And, you know, maybe one day we'll revisit that. That went on to Black and White 2, then the movies, and then
Nice.
The only thing is, I was worried as a designer I was getting stuck in a Fable rut. And so at this point I made the insane decision, and it was a bit of a crazy decision, to say goodbye to Lionhead, and we founded 22 Cans, and the first thing we did, which is unbelievably insane, was to release Curiosity, which was this crazy experiment where people tapped together. And people didn't understand why we did that, but I hope at the end of this demo you'll realise why we needed to go forward and do that. And now we're working on the glorious and wonderful Goddess. Now let me just start explaining what Goddess is about. My intention was to leave Microsoft, found a company, bring together some people that I worked with in the Bullfrog days, and to reinvent the God game genre. Because this genre started here in the industry. I dearly love, and this is where the greed comes in, I dearly love, as a designer, playing God games and reinventing those God games around today's tech, because today's tech is amazing, man. It's incredible. You know, what the cloud is and what cloud compute is and the connection and multi-devices means that we can create games that simply have never existed before. And we can put in ideas in those games which kind of change the world. And why not use a God game as the centerpiece of that? And I also felt that God games are going to die out unless we get more of those types of games. And people started to call, and these are good games, but Farmville and Cityville ain't God games. They're not God games, and despite what people think. And I just got... I got insanely angry one day when I was playing those games and said, no, there's no way I'm going to let this genre die. So that's why we founded 22 Games. Now, so if that's what they're not, but what are they? Well, for me, a God game is an open world. It's an open world which gives the player the power and the ability to do whatever they like. And I've always loved giving people the opportunity to be unspeakably cruel and evil and vicious. I don't know, I'm a nice guy. I don't know where this comes from, but normally I just like being cruel to digital characters. It's just who I am. And I like giving that power to you, giving an open world which allows you to be kind and cruel and tempts you into it is certainly a cornerstone. The other thing is this term, emergent gameplay. Now, for me, I feel gameplay which you, as the gamer, discovers rather than being told, rather than being led by the nose, is the best, creates the best memories. Creates those memories that stick with you and stay with you. Whether it be for me when I played Command and Conquer, the first Command and Conquer, when you could do sandbagging all the way up to the enemy base, and you know, every games are cheap, but it just felt fantastically emergent. And I definitely want to capture that emergent gameplay. Allowing you the freedom to be whoever you want and making that mean something. Now, I've said this line in things like Fable before, and because Fable was a compartmentalised experience, there was no way to share that. But we're going to really explore what freedom means and what being yourself really means. The most significant area of a God game is the simulation. If you're going to create an amazing God game, you've got to have an amazing simulation. And what that simulation actually means is that everything you do has an effect on everything else. And that really supports this emergent gameplay. And one of the things I also want to explore is connecting people together. You know, one of the things this crazy curiosity experiment showed is that when you connected people together, amazing things happened. The last two things are having epic motivations, not little motivations, but big motivations. Motivations that keep you going on, because one of the problems as a game designer you always have, especially with the games of the last 5 years, is that moment when you as a gamer you say to yourself, why am I doing this? Why am I playing Clash of Clans? Why am I playing City Build? Why am I playing Call of Duty? Am I doing this just to get an achievement, or am I doing this just to get a score? And that's the fateful moment when someone thinks that, you've lost them as a person. And then lastly, having amazing, incredible, beautiful, pure and simple multiplayer. So that's what God games for me are. If you're going to reinvent something, that's the things that you need to think about. Now, so where do you get your inspiration from? Well, for me, I find my inspiration firstly from the good bits. The good bits, especially from Populous, the original Populous, the good bits from Dungeon Keeper, and the good bits from Black and White. Also being inspired by the bad bits of those games, and all of those games have some really terrible bad bits. The joy of multiplayer RTSs like StarCraft and Command & Conquer. I used to love playing RTSs until it seemed that the Asian continent redefined what RTS is. I think this cannot give 200 commands a minute. So they just cannot do it. I just feel stupid. I miss those games. I miss them so much. I miss them like in the same way as I miss a beloved friend. You know, I've spent so many hours of them. There's so few of those out there now. Also, when you're designing games, you steal things. You're a thief. You know, many ideas you have aren't your own ideas, they're stolen from other games. And one of the games that I adore, I've always adored, is the epicness of Civilization, the genius of Sid Meier, to give us a game that allowed us to go through the history of mankind. I mean, that's pretty epic, man. And I'm going to steal that. And that brings me to the next thing I'm going to steal, is the total pure brilliance and genius of what Marcus Pearson, what Notch did with Minecraft. I mean, Christ! There cannot be a more supremely sublime moment in this industry. This is incredible. Minecraft, you know, no one realizes this. Minecraft broke every rule that us designers hold dear. Every cornerstone that when we sit pompously in our meeting rooms and say, yes, I'm going to design a new game, we come out with these cornerstones, and then Notch comes out and throws them all away. And I've met designers that just, lost it because Minecraft didn't have objectives, Minecraft didn't have tutorials, Minecraft didn't have an end, it was just Minecraft. And that freedom allowed people to engage in a computer game far more than they almost engaged in a computer game. So it's absolute genius, and I'm going to steal loads of stuff. So, let's start off by looking at just reminding you all of a couple of games I'm going to steal from. This is Populous, that you can see here. It was, look at that interface, it's atrocious. I mean, there was all those icons around there, and then Dungeon Keeper, of course. It was remarkably, Dungeon Keeper didn't have digging until about 6 months before release, even though we developed it for 2 years. But the multiplayer I loved because there was one thing about the multiplayer that was just pure loveliness, and that is pending doom, seeing someone coming close to you. And then lastly, black and white. Now, black and white had not too many features in the game, and we should have focused more on the creature and less on the world. And then, of course, Curiosity. Now, Curiosity wasn't a game, it was an experiment, but it was a fantastic experiment for us because it enabled us to author tech that is going to change what you think of the So those are the games I'm taking bits from. The landscape modification from Populous, the multiplayer, pending doom from Dungeon Keeper, the open world of Black and White, and the interesting connectivity of Curiosity. So, I guess we should move on and do the demo. Now, this is the first time the Goddess of Moon shown publicly, and I am utterly terrified. The chances of all this working without crashing are about 1,000,000 to 1. I'm going to be disappointed if it doesn't crash, so please bear with me. What I'm going to show you now is a beta. We're releasing this beta on Steam Early Access on the 13th of September. You can download it and try it and play it. I hope you will help us craft it in the beta period to be a brilliant game that I've been putting and everyone can put their heart and soul into it. So, let's go into it. Or not. Should we just talk about why?
Why sounds good.
Here we go. Right here. Fails to start game app already running. That's I didn't expect it that quickly. Okay. All that. Right. Come on. Here we go. Let's spin around now. That's terrible. Well, all the bad stuff's going to start at the let's just get through this horrible one. There it is. Right. So, it's firstly your role. You are a god. I want to make you feel like a god. I want to give you the power of being a god. And being a god, you can be unbelievably destructive. We're going to show you off some awesome god powers. There include meteor strikes, earthquakes, a volcano, and the finger of God. We call it fingering. I don't know why. We're going to be doing quite a lot of fingering maybe.
Oh, God.
But let's start very, very simply. I'm just going to do one thing to start the demo. Let's start to talk about, firstly, the world. Remember I spoke about this open world. Well, the world we've got in Goddess is, we've tried to make it unique looking. We were inspired by architectural drawing. The architects made these scale plans, and we were inspired by that. We've created this world, and this world is truly vast. Actually, it's partly procedurally generated and partly authored by us, and it is the size of Jupiter. Now, there's two reasons why it's the size of Jupiter. If you scroll with the mouse across it, you will take the entirety of your life to get back around to the start here. There's two reasons why it's the size of Jupiter. One reason is we need every square inch of it. The other reason is, and I'll be honest here, is because Notch made Minecraft the size of Neptune. If he starts going to suns, that's cheating. So we've got the big, and that's important. So this is a truly vast world, and it's a vast world which is all working under simulation. When we started the project, I said to the coders, and this is an inspiration, every drop of water, every grain of sand has to work under simulation. And I'm going to show you some examples of that, and then I'm going to hopefully blow your mind about what that really means right at the end of the game. But let's talk about the basic things in the game, the most basic things. And maybe this demo is going to get a bit tedious, but I really want to get into your minds what the basic gameplay is. So, there's two, can you see my mouse? Yeah. That's correct. There's two, let's start off and talk about these two bars here. There's the bar on the top left, and that is currently, it is tracking the population of your people. How many little people you have in the world. So you have these little people, they're currently living, there's some living in this house, there's some on the other side of the world. When this population bar reaches the top, you get a new god power. Simple as that. Couldn't be simple. How you get that population bar to the top is completely up to you. At the moment, it's tracking population. Later on, it's going to be tracking other stuff. The more, at this stage in the game, the more people you have, the more of this stuff you have. It's called belief, and that fuels your god powers. Everything you do as god in the land costs that belief. So, the loop, the mechanic is more people, more belief, more god powers, more destruction, more cruelty, and crime. That's the loop I want to get into. Now, let's just go through and talk about the most simple and most basic god power. Every god power has lots of nuances to it, and this most simple one is called Scotland. And we've spent 6 months refining and crafting this Scotland mechanic. And if I just zoom down, I can go over here and just grab this portion of land and then just pull it out. You can do that, and you can be very, very fine with the adjustment of it, or you can do what we call speed sculpting, and this allows you to kind of move the land very fast. That's going to be important in multiplayer. I'll show that one later. As this bar goes up, your sculpting powers improve. We then give you something called smart sculpting, and smart sculpting just allows you to double-click the mouse and just do very quick but sensible sculpting. And then as your sculpting improves more, you're able to move, we do something called cliff sculpting. And cliff sculpting will move the entire land out. Now, let's just talk about the crazy simulation stuff. You notice as I'm moving this land out, it's changing the flow of the tides. The flow of the tide dictates the wind direction. That wind direction will change the weather. This is what I mean by little tiny changes all adding together to make a bigger change of. Also, we're trying to make the world as dynamic as possible. I used to love, as a kid, damming things up. You can, if you want to. You can move this land and you can create a little lake, or you can create a waterfall, like dam this section up. Now, at the moment, water doesn't really mean anything to you. The little people like water, but it has no consequence. Later on, we're going to explore that. Now, so, as you sculpt, you'll notice that these little plots start appearing at this stage of the game. And these plots are kind of suggestions to the little people where to live. So if I get someone out of the house, just by tapping on the house, here it is. I've got a brown-haired blue person at the moment. He'll start building, of course I can stop him. properly. So that's the basic mechanic. Flattening land, building stuff, spreading the people up at this stage of the game, because this is the stealing stuff from civilization I'm going to show you now. Because actually, in Goddess, what you're doing is taking the little people on a journey through the history of man. It's going to be an epic journey. We're currently in the primitive age where all the people care about is building stuff, and all they care about is building stuff and having sex. Later on in the game, you're going to go into the Bronze Age, where they're going to be invents and tools, and you're going to help them invent tools. In the Iron Age, where they'll invent weapons, they'll invent things like swords and bows and arrows. Through the Philosophical Age, where they'll start questioning you as a god. Into the Imperial Age, and then as you go through all of these ages, you're eventually going to reach the Space Age. Where these little people won't be walking around anymore, they'll be driving cars and flying rockets. That is an epic journey we're going to take you on. And we take you on that journey with all these god powers. As you go up level, so your god powers improve. And that's where this bar really comes into its own. Because at the moment it attracts people, in the Bronze Age it's going to attract tools, in the Iron Age it's going to attract weapons, and in the Philosophical Age it's going to attract knowledge. So I think that's, a pretty nice epic journey. Let's go and have a look at other parts of the world. Over here, we've got a little bit more of my population. Now, with this population, I'm going to start collecting my belief. And you're going to think to yourself, oh my God, this reminds me of City of the Crashing Cars. And so I collect this belief. As you collect the belief, we are playing Mozart's second concerto in full. That lasts 45 minutes. That's a hell of a lot of clicking that you're going to do. If anyone manages to get to the end of the second concerto, there's a huge bonus. I like these motivations. Here's the interesting thing. We kick-started Goddess. I love Kickstarter. I think it's a fantastic enabler. Anybody here doing a Kickstarter?
Yeah!
Good luck, guys. If I've helped at all, just let me know. I think it's a fantastic enabler. Our Kickstarter pledges have been playing Goddess now since May, and they utterly love collecting belief. They hate collecting belief, but me as a designer, I love collecting belief. Why? Because it means that you're coming back with your people again. What we found is that people got so obsessed with sculpting that they didn't spend any time with people. So we reached a compromise, and this compromise is this. Over here, I have inspired my people by placing down a statue to create the first tiny settlement. And this settlement is, as you play the game, going to turn into a village, and then it's going to turn into a town, and then a city, and then eventually Seattle. To collect the belief here, there's a sound button. So this is pretty too spectacular. That's all right. You can just see that these roads, these little paths are starting to appear. My followers build these paths. Later on in the game, when you get to another age, you can help them with these paths and you can sculpt these paths out. But this is the start of the little things, the start of that sentence. Now, so having a world that is evolving, taking a little people through civilization, I think is really great. There's a little metaphor that I want to show you, which I find exciting. As a kid, I loved collecting things. Did anyone here, as kids, collect things like cards or baseball cards? So, I kid at my school who stole my bloody cards, and if I ever meet Mike Smith, I'm going to give him a punch on the nose. That was my wonderful card collection. So, in Goddess, as this bar completes, there's 3 ways of getting these cards. And these cards are things that unlock your powers as God. So over here, we've got a page. For example, when I got to a population of 200, I got this card which gave me Smart Scott. Now the reason I'm telling you about these cards, because you'll notice that I've got a couple of cards missing. Now there are 3 ways of getting new cards. One way is filling up this bar here. Another way is to just play the game. And as you play the game, if you do exciting, unexpected things, this is the emergent gameplay, you'll be rewarded with cards. For example, here, under here, this tree, I've been trying to kill this wolf for days. Underneath these trees here, there is a chest. You can just see it down there. If I open that chest up, I will get a new card. Sometimes these things that are hidden in the world are truly spectacular. Obviously a chest isn't, but if you look over here, I'm just using my sculpting to excavate. This is this massive, huge, vast statue which I'm just trying to excavate. If I can get my people, little followers over there, they're going to think I'm awesome because they're credit me with that statue. When I've sculpted that, I'm going to get a card as a reward. So those are the 2 ways. The 3rd way is playing multiplayer. Because everybody's world is different and everyone's set of cards is different because everyone plays the game in a different way. And that means if I play you in multiplayer and you've got cards 1, 3 and 4, but I'm missing card 2 and I've got card 2, then I can win card 2 from you. Which I think is a cool motivator to play multiplayer, to connect people together and competitors. One of the cards, for example, that you can win is you can win a little follower from your opponent's world. For example, my people are the blue people. With brown hair, we distinguish races by their hair colour. So you can see the brown-haired person here, and he's quite good at building. He's got a slight buff on building. If I play you in multiplayer, your people may all look like this. They all may be red-haired people. Of course, red-haired people are slightly better at breeding. That's really bad. You can take a little person from someone else's world and you can get them to breed with one of my people and they'll have, ginger-haired children, who will be slightly better at building and slightly better at breeding. And that feeling of connecting our worlds together and feeling of multiplayer as rewards in itself is, I think, something I need as a gamer, because just playing multiplayer just to win you is fine, but I'm going to get to that point in my mind where I say, why am I doing this? Now, what we're going to do now is go and play a little bit of a multiplayer game. I don't dare to do this live on stage, so I'm going to play a single-player battle. There is a story in Goddess which you can play through a succession of battles, but essentially what I'm going to play now is going to be kind of the same as what you, the same as multiplayer. So we'll just click on this temple here. This was discovered by me again, repaired by my followers. But before we do that, I just want to set my followers up. One of the things with multiplayer is to fuel the multiplayer games, you have to take your followers from your home world and I'm just gonna get my people out and let them just sort this out. This is one of the joys, is just being able to go and do something else and come back and see how your world's changed, because it's utterly persistent. It doesn't matter if you're playing multiplayer or you're going to bed, your world will still go on. So I'll leave those people doing that, and we'll go on and play multiplayer match now. Now, I've got to warn you, there is a horrendous sound bug in multiplayer. There's a harrowing sound effect of children being born. So, if anyone feels that I'm being unnecessary cruel to babies, I'm not. It's just the game that's got the sound bug. So let's go and do this now. So, here we are. We're going to play on a map called the Forsaken Forest. There's lots of different maps and lots of different game modes in those maps. And the reward for me doing this is going to be another type of follower, the brown-bearded, bald-headed follower, one of my favourites. And I'm not sure what his special attributes are, but they're definitely somebody I've learned from a lot. So I'm going to play that, I'm going to proceed that. You can adjust the number of people you take into multiplayer. This is very important, because if you're playing against someone who's in the Iron Age, they're going to have, their little followers are going to have swords, they may even have bows and arrows, as the little people go up ages, so they will develop those weapons. And you can still win by sheer force of numbers. But we're just going to take, we'll take 22 people then. Why do I like 22? Here we go. So there's the red people, the heathens, and these are my lovely blue people. And I'm going to introduce you to a couple of new god powers here. So to start off with, the pace of this is just incredibly faster. It's much more edge of the seat stuff. And the first thing I'm going to do is use my totem god power and just place this totem down, which will mean that all my little people that are not doing something at the moment will come to the totem. You have to be careful not to overuse your totem, because otherwise it will crush the free will of your little people, and they won't push you so much. So I've got the little totem there, I've got them all at the totem, and I'm going to take them up, and I'm going to take them up to this ridge up here. So let's move this totem on the top. And off they go. Now, because we're in the primitive age, they know nothing about ranking, they know nothing about grouping. If you're in the imperial age, they'll produce ranks of people, and they'll have pikemen and swordsmen, but at the moment they're just a rabble. I can, of course, carry on sculpting as much as I like, and carry on adjusting the land, and this is another delight of multiplayer. Remember what I said about Dungeon Keeper is that seeing pending doom is such a great thing in multiplayer. Well, I've got to get my little people down this slope. Now, to get them down this slope, I'm going to use smart sculpting to actually pull the land out and create these steps. Normally, obviously, the AI or a human opponent can see me doing this and do things to try and stop me. We also have area of influence, which means that you can't just do this stuff all over the place. Right, so there we go. I've got the steps for them, and I can move them down. Now, this force of little people isn't quite big enough to take on these people, so I'm going to use a couple of god powers to kind of help them out. And the first god power I'm going to use is Meteor, which is going to be, right, I'm going to just cheat a little bit. Oh, that's not okay. Let's just close that down. And no, that's wrong. It's from God again. Here we go. That's it.
That's like 10 million.
This is my first. No, wait a minute. My people are still stuck on that slope. Let's just get them down. Down here. Still stuck there. Come on. Bastards, don't show me up. See? Route finding, it works this time. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the lovely meteor strike. All God powers are totally upgradable and have a certain amount of skill to them. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to swipe my mouse across the screen. And the direction and velocity and the speed at which I swipe dictates the power of the meteor strike. So here we go. I'll just go down here.
Wow.
And let's do a little bit of promised fingering just to finish off. Finish these people off. Where's my fingering?
I know. Fingers of... the finger of God. Ding, ding.
That's an example of the multiplayer. I've played hundreds of hours of multiplayer. It is just fantastic, man. Just to be able to build up belief and then, cast these awesome god powers. I've thrown meteor strikes. I've played against someone else that's thrown a storm that's blown the meteor back to me. I've had tidals. It's absolutely brilliant. And then to have all that war as well is just fantastic. So it reminds me of the earlier days of multiplayer when it was simpler and purer. And I don't knock StarCraft 2 at all. I just enjoy playing it, but it's just very complicated, and I wanted to strip it back and go back to purity. So there we go. We've still got 2 people left. Where are they? There. That's it. Here we go.
He's been like...
Back we go to our home world. We got these cards as a reward. Some of these cards I didn't have before. My people are advancing. I got a new type of follower called Wild Man. That for me makes multiplayer much more worthwhile. So you get the spirit of what the game is. Now, that's pretty good, but I want to just share with you a couple of other, what I think, amazing features. The first thing is the style of your gameplay. What you don't realise is that as you go around the world, it's almost irresistible to clear things up. I'm a cleaner. I like straight edges, and I like all my plots to be absolutely lined up. I don't care about trees. Other people are creationists. They would rather kill themselves than knock down the tree. The key thing to remember is you're taking your people on this journey through the history of man. So trees may not seem very important at the moment, but actually, when you move into the Bronze era and they're inventing tools, suddenly they become a valuable resource. Same with these rocks. If I tap on these rocks, I get some belief. That's really nice. It's a nice belief. A belief farm, but that is going to be a resource, a very important resource in the Iron Age era. This stuff here, it's not, if I just show you, your instant thought is it's poison land. But actually it's a hint about something. So just to get some sorry. I get those few people and they're going to come across here, and this is what we call blighted land. It's a hint about something that might be hidden under the land. You see the little people don't like it. I can kind of help them out. I can do beautifying. and that kind of also, by the way, I forgot to tell you about one feature, is that as you play the game, your little people are interpreting your actions in the form of commands. So if I, for example, just beautify these bigger houses, that will start to create a class-driven society. These little people down here, they're going to think those bastards up on the hill, they're God's chosen people. So having your little people have their own set of commands inspired by you, that's absolutely fascinating. Anyway, let's just pop back to my presentation, because I want to just cover a couple of amazing things which I cannot demonstrate. Yes. Okay.
Steam.
So that was the goddess, but I want to talk about Jupiter.
There's a little sparkle.
The cool thing about goddess, the amazing, incredible thing that everybody that takes part in goddess is going to take part in is this. The reason we need Jupiter is because when you play the game, you've got this tiny little plot. This plot of land that's about 100 kilometers wide. Oh, outside of that plot, there is another person playing goddess. Simultaneously with you, if you scroll over 100 kilometers away, you'll see their civilization, you'll see them sculpting, you'll see them changing the land. Slowly, over the days and the weeks that you play the game, your lands will start coming together. And then eventually, one day, they're going to meet. What is going to happen when your people meet these other people? Are you going to be an isolationist? Are you going to close your borders and not have anything to do with those other people? Are you going to be a cooperative? Are you going to join forces? Are you two people going to come together and continue on through? Are you going to be two gods controlling one people? This entire planet of Jupiter has everyone playing goddess simultaneously. And I think that is a cool use of the cloud. This ability to have a whole world playing simultaneously. What this also means is if you change an infinitesimally small thing in your world, like for example, sculpt the tidal patterns which change the wind direction, it doesn't just change the wind direction for you, it has a knock-on effect to your neighbour, and your neighbour's neighbour, and your neighbour's neighbour. And eventually, as your people go through time, you'll be meeting all these other races, and all those other races will we'll have to see what happens. We'll have to see what happens when two civilizations meet and play gods. Now, some people think that when that happens, everyone's going to go to war. And the entirety of this goddess world will just be festooned with battles and destruction. I have a prediction that it's even more depressing than that. My prediction is, all you guys, you're just going to be nice. Sickeningly, sycophantically nice to each other. And it makes me sick, because, you know, again, like Fable, we spend hours, we spend months and years crafting the evil side of Fable, and only 10% of people actually did the evil side. Come on, this must be gamers to explore your inner evil. Let's make this goddess Jupiter planet, you know, the equivalent of Klingon.
Burning flames.
Some conflict, man. How this world will turn out, whether people will discriminate against each other, whether people will band together, it's going to be a fascinating thing. And that's what I mean by reinvention of the board game. Why not apply the board game to the whole of this pattern? So, as one feature, the next crazy, insane feature which I want to talk about is the role of the God of gods. Now, what we did was when we ran this curiosity experiment. The prize at the centre of this cube was the ability to be a god of gods. Now, unfortunately, our god of gods, unfortunately, isn't Zeus. It's actually someone called Brian. Brian is an 18-year-old. He is the person that tapped on the last cube of the curiosity experiment, and he was the one that got the prize. And the prize is this. He has two cool things that he can do. He has a panel that I should have really put in my talk. He has a panel that comes up every week, and he can make some adjustments to everybody's world who's playing goddess. Everybody's land is playing goddess. The type of things he can change. He can make trivial changes, for example, it's a crazy trivial change. He can make the weather in everybody's lands the same as the weather outside the window. Unfortunately for you guys, he lives in it rains. That's going to be pretty depressing. The other things that we're going to set him, and the community is going to set him, is things like moral questions. For example, is it right that the little followers work 24 hours a day? Maybe Brian says no, it's not. Maybe they should have a couple of hours off between 3 o'clock and 5 o'clock. Maybe we ask him a moral question, is it right that we introduce contraception into the world and your birth rate will be affected? In the last section, you can make a little tiny gameplay tweaks. And those gameplay tweaks will encourage aggressive or passive behavior. So those are his God powers. He has to be careful because he needs to get supporters behind him. And the reason that his reign as God of gods only lasts 6 months. At the end of the 6 months, he'll have to play a multiplayer match against someone who has earned the right to challenge. Whoever wins that match is the new God of gods. Also, I forgot to mention that whoever is the God of gods, during their reign, they get significant royalties from all the sales and all the money coming in from gods. So that could be quite a nice prize. But I love this idea of how to connect people, that we're all going to either come together and support Brian, or it's amazing his name Brian, because of life of Brian, or we want to get rid of that. I think is a truly fascinating picture. So, Goddess comes out in beta on September the 13th on Steam Early Access, which is a wonderful system for us indie developers. It allows us to put things out there and craft it. We need as many people as we can to bullet test these systems we've got. What you download on September the 13th will take you through some of the ages. We haven't got quite crafted the space age yet, but we're working through the ages and we'll continue to update it. I really hope you take the time to give Goddess a try. It's $19. Or is it $22? One of those two prices. It's $19, please give it a try. Anybody who has any reactions to it or any questions or hate bits of it, please feel free to email me directly at Molyneux@22cans.com, or you can go to our website, or you can tweet me at email. That is Goddess. Thank you so much for giving me. This, for me, is the most passionate, wonderful, incredible time in my career. And I truly hope that at last Goddess will be a great game worthy of praise. Thank you very much.
How the entirely connected world thing will possibly work, but
I think
not technically, but yeah.
I think it's gonna be